Showtime, guys. Cheers.
I was telling a cool story.
On tonight's CruiseWeek.tv show, I'm standing in for Matt as he is busy trying to invent a new beer that won't get you drunk. We take a look at one of the few American ports that cruise lines stop at, and that's going to be Key West. And Shally is going to be here with me tonight to talk to me about the time that she has spent in Key West. Also, we have Lucas back below decks bringing you the secrets behind the crew doors, and cruise director Chris with a look at the life of a cruise director. We also have the latest cruise news, the photo of the week, all this and much, much more. So stay tuned because this is CruiseWeek.tv live. Our show this week is brought to you by the folks at Good Memories Travel and by vMix. Welcome, everyone. I'm Joe because Matt asked me to stand in for him this week because he's at his mother's home in a much colder state rescuing her from a spider that she saw on the kitchen floor. Anyway, this week we take a deep dive into one of the few USA ports that's not a home port that the cruise ships still visit, and that's Key West. If you have any questions about Key West, we have Michelle, our Key West guide, with us today, and she's going to be answering your questions. So be sure to type them into the comments, and we will be getting to Michelle very shortly. Shally's also here, and this is my first time on the show with Shally, so I'm very excited. It's good to have a co-host for once. But don't worry, Shally, I only believe about half of what Matt has told me about you. Anyway, now before Shally throws a shoe at me, let's take a look at our photo of the week. And this week, our photo comes from the Carnival Solo Cruisers group. Yes, there is actually a group out there to help you if you signed up to cruise alone. They also help you if you need to find a cabin mate or just give you ideas of what to do on the ships. Now, this photo was sent in by Kim Roddy, and it features her and her adorable towel animal in her solo cabin. Oh my gosh, look at that. Is that an elephant? I think it might be an elephant. Anyway, it's adorable. I love when they do that with the towel animals, and I love when they put, they always find a way to put my sunglasses on the towel animals they make when I'm on a cruise ship. Guys, remember, if you want your photo to be featured as our photo of the week, you can send it to photos@cruiseweek.tv, or wait to see if we post in one of your favorite Facebook news groups, and then you can send us a photo through there. Now, I'm sure if you've watched our show before, you now know about Good Memories Travel. Now, when Debbie saw the hard work that we were putting in to bring you all the best cruise news and information to help others, she wanted to help and support us. Good Memories Travel is a full-service travel agency that offers you cash back and incentives that you won't get booking directly with the cruise lines. So why would you pay more for less? It costs nothing to compare a price and see the superior service and extras that you get when you go through Good Memories Travel for your next cruise vacation. They cover all the cruise lines, and if you're a new cruiser, they can even suggest the best ship and cruise to suit your cruising style. So give Debbie a call or visit their website today and see how much cheaper and easier it can be. Debbie can be reached directly at 321-338-2953, and of course, through their website at goodmemoriestravel.com. And thanks so much for your support of CruiseWeek.tv. So one place that certain cruise ships stop on their way to the islands is Key West. It's still part of the USA. It's part of the Florida Keys archipelago, and it's also Florida's southernmost point, lying roughly 90 miles north of Cuba. Famed for its pastel, huge conch-style houses, it's a cruise ship stop, also accessible from the mainland via the Overseas Highway. Cruise ships that currently visit Key West from Carnival are the Victory, the Sensation, the Paradise, the Dream, the Freedom, the Breeze, and the Glory. From Royal Caribbean Lines, the Majesty and the Enchantment visit there. And from NCL, the Sun, the Pearl, and the Sky visit Key West. Now, our guest tonight is Michelle O'Connor, and she handles a lot of the tourist information in and out of the island, as well as being a long-term resident of the area. So thank you for joining us tonight, Michelle, and welcome to CruiseWeek.tv.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So right off the bat, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been a resident of Key West?
Well, we've been off and on. We split our time into Key West off and on for about the last 4 years. Our first visit down, and we fell in love, and we've now been splitting our time between there and up north. So once you get Key West sand in your shoes, you just can't stop going back.
You know, from the one time I've been to Key West, I can honestly say that is, I can see exactly why that is. So where up north do you split the time between?
We're between there and West Virginia.
Very nice. All right, so you've been there for about 4 years now. So you must get a lot of questions about like the tourist spots there. So what are some of the high points of interest that you would tell a tourist to visit?
If it's your first visit, I always tell people, get an orientation of the island by taking a comp train tour. It allows you to tour the island. It's mainly Old Town, which is the historic section, and you can jump on and off all day, and it's kind of your inexpensive way to tour the island. If you have interest in, museums, there's 18 in town, everything from Hemingway House to Shipwreck Museum to the aquarium. So there's lots of interest. If you're a foodie, all of the restaurants are top notch. If you want to do a pub crawl, you can do that too. So we always say that Key West is one of those stops that allows you to fill any interest you have. And it's not just a one stop place that you can only do certain things.
Cool. So being in Key West, you've learned quite a good deal of Key West history. Tell us a little bit about some of the history of Key West and maybe some of the museums that might hold that history for people who want to visit.
Absolutely. Key West has a very interesting history. If you follow it for like the last 400 or 500 years, started off with pirates and then went into wreckers. And you can see a lot of the homes around. And when you take the conch train tour, you'll hear a lot of the history of the homes and how they were built. And the wreckers were men who watched for ships to hit the reefs outside of Key West, and they would go out, save the people and the stuff that was on the ships, the cargo, and bring it into Key West and sell it off and make money that way. When that ended, sponging took over, and then that ended after a little while, and then the railroad came in, and then we had the Great Depression. And one of the incentives to try and stimulate tourism was the residents of the island were encouraged to you turn their large homes into bed and breakfasts, and that's why today most of them are still that way. So it's an interesting history, and if you really take some time, you can go in and learn about the shipwrecks through the Shipwreck Museum. You can still see some of the sponging stuff in one of the tourist shops there along Mallory Square. You can go over and see interesting things in the aquarium and how they're trying to preserve some of the wildlife. So, I mean, if you're into history or wildlife, Key West is your first stop.
Awesome. So, and I'm glad you brought that up about the shipwreck museum because I mean that's a very uncommon museum, something you probably wouldn't find many places in the world other than a place like Key West. Would you tell me a little bit about the shipwreck museum?
Absolutely. So you go into the Shipwreck Museum, and it starts off with a little bit of actors portraying some information about, the time period. So it sets you into that wrecker time period, and you go through and you learn how the wreckers salvaged their cargo, how they made their money, how the residents of Key West were able to make a living that way. And then what's really interesting is there is the tower that you usually see when you pull in on a cruise ship, and it's the highest point in Key West outside of the La Concha, and you get to walk up top and actually have a beautiful panoramic view of the area. And so we always encourage people, if you want to see what the shipwreck, the Key West looks like from up above, go into the Shipwreck Museum, learn what you can, and see all the interesting artifacts that they have there, and then go up top and see the view.
I'll tell you what, the history of the shipwrecks in Key West is something that I wish I had known about when I had visited Key West a while back, because I think that would have been something that would have been very interesting to go out and see, like the museum itself. And since you say there were shipwrecks there, are there any places to like scuba dive or snorkel and see some of the old wrecks?
Absolutely. There's quite a few. You can go out on several of the tours that we have, or we can connect you with others that specifically snorkel or dive around shipwrecks. And if you're interested in diving or snorkeling and wanting to see that, there's so many things that you can, so many places up and down the Keys that you can do that in. But there are places right in Key West that you can go do that and go out on the water and see that.
Perfect. Very good to know for my next trip to Key West, because I definitely need to get the old scuba gear out again and get back in the water.
Cool.
So now another thing that you mentioned when you were talking about the high points, you mentioned the aquarium in the area. I see a lot of aquariums now. They do things to help the wildlife in the area as well. Is this do they do stuff like that, or is it just kind of like a place to go and see the fish and the local wildlife?
They have out in the backside, they have a turtle pond pool, and they do a little bit of rescue work there. So it's more of a educational aquarium. So it's not a big, huge aquarium. It was built back in the early 1930s, 40s, and so it still has that charm to it. It used to be an open air aquarium, and they've now put it all under roof, but you can go in and see interesting fish and wildlife that you would see if you were to go out snorkeling or scuba diving. And then you can go out back and see the turtles, and you can feed the stingrays, and they have an iguana there, because it is Key West. And I think the snake is still there. But, it's an interesting place to go see, just get a flavor of what kind of fish and stuff that you could see in the water.
Awesome. And speaking of speaking of flavors, island flavors, one question that I always get from no matter what port that I'm talking about, it seems that we always get a lot of foodies that watch the show, and believe me, I'm one of them. I understand it. Before the show started, you were talking to me a little bit about the food tours that they have. What kind of or what kind of food tours do they have in Key West, and where do they go? What kind of foods do you experience there?
We have the Key West food tours, and Annalise is one of the tour operators and the owner, and she has the one stop. Has six locations that you go to that really highlight Key West flavors. So you start off with a Cuban restaurant. So you learn all about Cuba and the food influence. You learn, I don't want to give away all the secrets, and so you don't want to take the tour, but you learn kind of why sometimes Cuban food is served with yellow rice and sometimes it's served with white rice. And if you're not into Cuban food, trust me, if you go with her, you will learn to love Cuban food. She takes you in, you get to taste key lime pie, conch fritters, get to drink a rum runner, get to try some locally distilled rum and vodka. So it's a nice leisurely walk through a section of Old Town. And as you're walking along, not only do you get to see the Old Town that's off the ball and a little in the alleyways, but you learn the history of the sections that you're walking through, and it's a great tour. She also offers a seafood tour, so if you want to taste more of what the island has to offer for seafood, she has 6 stops there, and it's a great tour. It's about an hour and a half. It's about a 3.5 hour, maybe sometimes, but it's well worth it, and it works well a lot when cruise ships come in because of the timing, and it's a great way to experience food of Key West.
Perfect. And I'm glad you had mentioned some of the locally distilled rum and vodka in the area, because we have another question coming in about if there's any good bars in the area. We just had somebody ask on Facebook. Unfortunately, I can't see who asked, but what about good bars?
Well, a little known fact, Key West is an island of about 2 miles by 4. So it's a small island, but there's about 340, 350 restaurants and bars in this small island. So there is no shortage of finding a good bar. If you've never been to Key West, I always suggest that you need to go to Sloppy Joe's. It was the watering hole of Hemingway, and you can see his fishing rod and his marlin there hanging up. They have great food, and they offer entertainment all day long, and they offer one of the heaviest pours in town. So they do top-notch, top-shelf liquor and their drinks, and you have to hit there first. If you are looking for entertainment, that's a little on the raunchy side, and I always warn people when cruise ships are in town, it's usually raunchier when the cruise ships are in town. You go over to Irish Kevin's. and they offer harp on draft and a wall full of tap choices that you can do, and they have entertainment running all day long. So basically, that's the first block of Duval, and then you can just make your way down, and about every other door is a bar that you can stop in.
Magical. And you said there were how many bars in Key West?
There's bars and restaurants of about 350. The last count, I think, was what we were at.
That is pretty impressive. And that's a lot to fit in an island that's not, it doesn't seem to be that big of an island. What are the dimensions there?
2 miles by 4.
Yeah, so 2 miles by 4, that's a lot of bars to fit into such a small place. And plus with Duval Street being such a party street, that's a lot of people, I'm sure, that would crowd up the nightlife. Now, speaking of nightlife, what are the best? Is Duval the best nightlife area in Key West, or is there somewhere else that's kind of more off the beaten path and more off of the touristy area?
Well, if you're going to start your nightlife off, obviously Key West is known for happy hour. Happy hours start around 4:00, and everybody offers a happy hour. You can, if you're into kind of local dive bars, one of the places absolutely phenomenal is Parrot. And you can go over there. They're on Simonton, and you can head over there. They do a sound check, which is usually around 5:00. So the band comes in, warms up. You're in happy hour. Then you can wander down. There's a couple other places down there, but what we usually do is happy hour starts. You can have a few drinks. You head on down to Mallory Square, which is usually where the cruise ships dock. And then you have sunset celebration and watch the entertainers and look at all the art that's exhibited and pick up another drink. And then you can wander back and usually find music lifting out into the streets and follow it and end up anywhere.
Awesome. So we have another, there was a question that came in on Facebook. What's the weather like there, and does it rain much?
Rain? Here's the neat thing about it. A lot of you all are probably sitting in snow right now. Key West has never had snow, ever, and we've never had frost. So even in January, it may be chilly it's actually cold to Key West residents when it drops down into the 40s, but it's never frozen, and it's, frosted or snowed. So January would be the coldest month, obviously. Then you get into July and August, and you would think, because it's Florida, it'd be really warm, but with the island the way it's set up, and you have the island breezes blowing in, it's actually very cool. And like I said, you can wander in and out of every establishment, shopping or eating or at a bar, and they're all air conditioned. So you're not going to go very far without finding a cool spot. You do have rain, but it's not like a rainy season. But it's a tropical island. The rain comes in, blows right through. Very rarely is there a washout of a day.
Wow. Michelle, you had me at, this is the part you had me at. We have never had snow in Key West. We have never had frost in Key West. That was the part that you absolutely had me at. I didn't know we were going to be throwing shade at the northern states, but I'm happy we did. So, Eric wants me to ask about Key West since the storms are over, since after the summer and the hurricane season.
So Key West didn't have too much damage from Irma. There was a couple homes that were destroyed. Shel Silverstein's home was destroyed, but his workshop survived. There was a lot of greenery that was down that needed to be cleaned up. The epicenter of Irma came through in around Big Pine, which is about 20 miles above Key West. I work with a tour company up the Keys, and she's doing voluntours. So if you are so inclined and your schedule allows, she will take you up, and you can still help clean up, because those areas still need help and they still need to be cleaned up. So they're still coming through, but the Keys survived. The message that we want to get out there is Key West is open for business. we're ready to have people come in. And if you're coming in on a cruise ship, there's lots to see and do. And the trees come back and they're green and everything is back to normal.
Wonderful. Now we had another question come in from YouTube. This one comes from S.H. Wood on YouTube. He says, I've been to Key West several times. It seems like the ships are only there for 2 to 3 hours. Is that true?
Some are, but actually I think cruise ships come in real early because, I'm a cruise ship geek. I've never actually taken a cruise. So, you guys are kind of inspiring me to do that. But I'm always fascinated every time they come in and dock, the size and all the stuff that they have on them. But usually they come in early in the morning and can be in town anywhere from 4 to 8 hours is what we find. Most of the time, I'm going to say 95% of the time, cruise ships are out of Mallory Square and off of the Outer Mole before sunset. But you guys get to have a fabulous sunset view from the ship. So the cruise ships usually come in and give you guys enough time to get off the ship and explore a portion of Key West and give you a taste that you're really going to want to come back and see it again.
Great. Now, earlier you mentioned about you mentioned a little bit about the Hemingway house as well. You talked about the Hemingway house. You talked about one of Hemingway's favorite hangout spots. Tell me a little bit more about the Hemingway house. I know it's a museum. I know they give tours, and I hear some things about six-toed cats. Could you elaborate a little bit on that for me?
Sure. Hemingway's son was given a six-toed cat, and I think they're called a polydactyl cat, and from a ship's captain. And these cats were considered, and probably still are, good luck. And that original cat was Snowball, and he is the lineage that all these cats come down from. And they wander the property; it's their home, and they sleep on the bed. They crawl up on the furniture. They wander the yard. You can pet them, just don't pick them up. They're all named after famous actors and actresses and famous people. So you have Greta Garbo and, Rhett Butler and all kinds of cats that you can go see. And they even have a cemetery there. So when they pass on, they're honored and stay there. So they're always the highlight. And what's really interesting, if you don't get a chance to go actually into the Hemingway house and do the tour, you can walk by and outside through the gates, you can see the cats and wander in as they wander through. They love people. They're not scared of them, but they're interesting to see because, you see that sixth thumb. It almost looks like a thumb, and you think, well, I bet you that cat doesn't need a whole lot of help. But they're fascinating to see. I always say if you were subjected to reading Hemingway in high school, 70% of his work was done in Key West. And if you want to see where he wrote some of those books you had to read in high school, take a tour of the Hemingway house. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, that's something that I definitely wanted to do the last time I was there. Well, of course, the last time I was there, it was probably the second longest line that I saw anywhere. The first longest was to the southernmost point buoy, which is probably one of the most photographed places in all of Key West. Worth it to get the photograph, I suppose, but it was and if I remember correctly, it was just down the street from the Hemingway house and a little bit past the Lighthouse, which I wanted
Correct.
to stop in, but I didn't really get a chance to stop in where the Lighthouse Museum either because they were closed that day. So tell me about the lighthouse that they have there in the museum. Is it something that's definitely worth a trip?
The Lighthouse, right street from the Hemingway house. And it's about 88 steps, if my math is correct and my memory serves me correctly, to the top. And you can climb to the top of the lighthouse and walk out and have a beautiful view. The lighthouse usually closes at dusk, but you can also tour not only the lighthouse, but they have the keeper's quarters there, and you can learn how the lighthouse was actually moved from a different location to that location. With the hurricanes and all that came through. And so you get to hear all about that history. And rumor has it that Hemingway bought the house across the street because when he left Sloppy Joe's, he could follow the light of the lighthouse and make himself find his way home. So that's the rumor. But it's a cool section of town. You wander on back down to the southernmost point. If you ever get an opportunity to be in Key West and you're not on a cruise ship, I always recommend right around sunrise, you go into the southernmost point at the buoy, never a line. And if you don't care if it's dark or not, once the sun goes down, usually not a line either. So that's a little tidbit if you want to get a picture with yourself at the buoy.
Awesome. So that street seems to have a lot of stuff on it that's very interesting, or at least it did the last time that I was there. So I was actually happy to see a lot of that stuff. So we got another question coming in from Facebook, and I'm actually really glad somebody asked this one, because I have this goal in life that I want to hit all the national parks. And they asked, how long does it take to get to Dry Tortugas National Park, and if that can possibly be done on a cruise, or do you have to take a boat from somewhere else?
Go to the Dry Tortugas, you leave at around 7 o'clock in the morning, I want to think, and you take a different ferry out to the national park to the Dry Tortugas. Given how long it takes, I'm not sure that a cruise ship is going to have enough dock time in Key West to allow you to do that, but certainly plan to come back to Key West and do that trip. It's a phenomenal trip. You take the ferry out, and you spend the day wandering through the fort, and you can snorkel in some of the clearest, cleanest waters you'll ever see. The ferry provides you lunch and has a bar for you on the way back. So you usually leave around 7:30ish in the morning, and you're usually back in Key West for sunset. So it's a great way to do it. If you like camping, you actually can get a permit to camp in the Dry Tortugas and stay on the island and do that. So that's another option.
Awesome. That's very good information to know. One day I will hit all the national parks, and that one will be one of them, and I'll be using your information from that. Another question that came in from Facebook is there a place where you can get all exclusive drinks? And what we think this means are exclusive drinks that are exclusive to Key West. Like, some islands, I think in Royal Caribbean, their private island, the Coco Loco is the big drink. Is there a drink in Key West that's better to have there than anywhere else?
I say that every bar has their house drink. So that's what I always go for. So if you're into sloppy joes, they have things that you can only get there. If you're going to go for a true flavor of Key West, then I would do anything key lime. You could do a key lime martini, you could do a key lime margarita, you could do all kinds of interesting key lime concoctions. So if that's the flavor you're going for, then key lime would be where I would stick with. But I always walk into place and say, what's your house drink? What's your bartender's specialty? And go from there.
Speaking of key lime, I had somebody ask me this earlier today. Where's the best place to get a really good key lime pie?
My favorite is Kermit's Key Lime Pie Shop. And they're over off of Green. So if you go to Sloppy Joe's and just keep going that direction on Green, you'll find the key lime store. It's actually painted key lime, so you won't miss it. And it's across the street from the Conch Republic Seafood Company, who has great seafood. He serves his without meringue, but he also offers a frozen chocolate dipped. So if you want to go a little decadent, that's my husband's personal favorite is the chocolate dipped. If you like meringue on your key lime, then Blue Heaven, they have meringue that's that tall, and you can. It's if that's what you like, they have the best key lime pie with meringue.
If I was into meringue, then that would definitely be a big thing for me. But meringue's probably. It's I don't know. Meringue's never been a big thing for me, so I'd probably go to that first place that you had recommended. So, because that one sounded the best to me. Yeah, that one sounded the best to me by far. So we got a couple more questions that came in through some of our lovely viewers on YouTube. The first one, Raymond Renaud wants to know where's a good place to go shark fishing.
Well, there's a lot of guides out there that specialize in it. We work with Key West or Fish Key West, Florida, and he has a shark fishing expedition that you can go out on, and they'll I defer always to the captains, and they know their secret spots. So I always say, I'll connect you with a fishing captain, and he'll take you out to fish whatever you want to fish, as long as it's in season.
Sounds good. I've not been fishing. Like, shark fishing to me sounds absolutely dangerous. I don't know. Well, I mean, unless there's little sharks, I guess that doesn't sound so bad. Yeah, exactly. Another question came in from YouTube. This one from Heidi Leskin. She wants to know, what time do the bars open when the ships come into port? I believe you said earlier 7 a.m. was when the bars generally open. Is that right?
Schooner Wharf has a happy hour that starts, I think, at 7 a.m. Sloppy Joe's opens around 10. Most places are very accommodating to opening when they understand that the cruise ships are coming in. So there's always a place to stop and find something to drink along the way. Sometimes the coffee shops serve beer. So you can always stop in at a coffee shop and pick up a beer too. So there's always an opportunity to have something of an adult beverage about any time of the day that you're in Key West.
That's good. Very good to know. And it sounds like Florida's New Orleans in a way.
Pretty much.
Almost. Minus the whole part about like walking out of the bars and drinking like in a plastic cup in the streets. They don't allow that, do they?
Actually, officially, Key West does not have a rule against open containers. But that said, any bar you go to, you can ask for a to-go cup, and you can walk down to Vol with your open container, and nobody says anything.
Very good. Good to know. Yeah, that was the rule in New Orleans too. You could ask for a to-go cup, and as long as it wasn't in a glass container, you could walk right down Bourbon Street with it, or wherever, pretty much almost wherever in the quarter. I didn't ever have any problems other than that. So now another question that comes up usually, because we get a lot of people that take these cruise ship vacations, and they don't get to see beaches too often from wherever they're from, whether they're from a Midwestern state or somewhere up north. So tell me, what about the beaches in Key West? What are some of the best beaches to hit up?
Well, Key West isn't known for our beaches. If you think about the way Key West is structured, we have a reef all around the island, so we don't have the waves and that you see. But that said, there are beaches you can go to. Fort Zachary Taylor is out off of Truman Annex, and you can go there. There's a fort to explore. They have a nice beach that you can go to and see. They offer snorkeling, and you can rent chairs, umbrellas, anything that you need for snorkeling there. If you want to take a cab or an Uber over, you can go to Smathers Beach. It's the longer one over on North Roosevelt. And they actually import the sand, so it's not Key West sand, but they import it usually, I think, from Jamaica. And so that's a very nice long beach. You can do a Hobie Cat over there, rent kayaks. They usually have food trucks over there, so there's a lot of opportunities on that side to go see a beach. There's a little teeny tiny beach right at the southernmost point. So you have the southernmost, I'm going to back that up. The southernmost point on Duval. So you go to where the southernmost home is, and there's a little beach there with a beach cafe. You can sit there, and there's some little hidden beaches. Higgs Beach over next. Yeah, you can go over to Higgs Beach, which is a nice little spot that you can go to over by White Street Pier. If you want to go to there's a little teeny tiny dog beach. It's one of the beaches that they allow dogs on, and that's over by Louis' backyard. And if you're a big Jimmy Buffett fan, that's over where he used to live, and that's the Louis' backyard is the bar he used to wander into and talks about in songs. So there's these little teeny tiny beaches, but it's not going to be a beach like you're thinking that you're going to be seeing in the Caribbean.
So, in your opinion, you'd say it was probably a little bit quieter, a little bit more secluded?
The beaches, well, you still have people sitting on the beach. So it's going to be time of day, how busy people are. There's still going to be people enjoying the beach as it is. So the Smathers Beach and the Fort Zach are going to be your most busiest. But you can find these little pocket beaches where people they're not that as busy. I mean, not as busy. So you can find those quiet spots sometimes. Now the rule is, and I'm not sure how it is everywhere else in the Caribbean, but no alcohol on Key West beaches. So
very good to know. That's a good piece of information. So we have we're getting pretty close to the time to wrap up the interview. But before we do, we got just a couple more questions. We got one that came in from Facebook. It says we will be getting in around 7:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. What are some good options of things to do during this time?
well, I always say number one, conch train. And you can go into our website and pre-buy those tickets ahead of time and save if you wanted to do that. It's a great tour of the island if you've never been there. You can rent a bike and rent bikes and head out and explore the island on your own. You can pick up at 1:30, with the problem with it 1:30 being that early, I might be able to work you into a bicycle tour with Lloyd's Tropical Bikes. I think he runs that early. But I always say, if you're into just wanting to walk around, get the atmosphere of town, check out the art galleries, check out the shopping or the food, pick up a few drinks here or there. That's plenty of time. You can just wander through and have a piece of key lime pie and a drink and, head over to Garbo's Grill, which is, over close to where you guys would come off the cruise ship and have one of the best hamburgers you'll ever have. Garbo's Grill is part of, dinners, drive-ins, and dives. So hot dogs, hamburgers, great place to go and just catch up on the vibe.
Excellent. All this information has been very wonderful, Michelle. I'm sure, just like myself, the viewers have probably been absorbing it left and right. So for our next trip to Key West will be amazing. Now, you've been an amazing guest, but before we go, I would like you to share with our viewers how it is that they can get in touch with you.
You can check out our website. It's funinkeywest.com. You're more than welcome to give us a call at 1-855-727-4673. We're here. Basically, we'll answer your questions. If you're coming in on a cruise and you just want to say, I don't want to be part of the excursions that they're offering, I want to do something on my own, we'll see what we can hook you up with. If you just want to just ask a question, we can answer those. If you're planning a return trip back down, we can help you plan that. So we're here to help you out.
Awesome. Michelle, thank you so much for being on the show with me tonight. You've been very informative, and very much appreciate this interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Having flown the coop for a cruise adventure of her own, Harry the stowaway cockatoo who stowed away on a cruise ship has been returned to her family by Princess Cruises. The adventures all started as Michelle and Brett Causey were packing for a cruise vacation. The Causeys' beloved bird Harry was accidentally set free from her cage and flew away and was presumed never to be seen again. The family was devastated, but little did they know Harry was about to take a cruise vacation of her own. Sea Princess was sailing the Tasman Sea when the crew members came across the beautiful bird, and officers had Harry scanned for a microchip and discovered that the bird was a family pet. The officers made her an honorary crew member with her own laminated crew identification card. Harry enjoyed the remainder of her cruise vacation on the Sea Princess. Meanwhile, as the Causey family was enjoying their cruise on Sister Line P&O, word was received from the Agriculture Department officials that Harry had been found, and to the entire family's shock, was on a cruise adventure to New Zealand. Once back on land and awaiting her return, the Causey family learned of Harry's fantastic journey during her 14-day New Zealand cruise odyssey. The entire ship's company had come to love Harry, and she has been a very good shipmate and no trouble at all, Commodore Romano said. But we could see that Harry was also missing her human family, so it was a great pleasure to be able to reunite them. I swear, between that bird and our producer bird, birds go on more cruises than I do. It's a damn shame. It really is. It's a shame. Anyway, moving on, the 3006 passenger Carnival Splendor and the Carnival Miracle were transiting the Panama Canal en route to the home ports of Long Beach, California, and Tampa, Florida. Both ships start year-round programs from these ports tomorrow. During the cruise, the guests had the unforgettable opportunity to transit the Panama Canal, one of the 7 wonders of the modern world, and sail across Gatun Lake, one of the largest man-made lakes in the world, while visiting the spectacular ports in the Caribbean, Mexico, Central, and South America. Upon its arrival in Long Beach, Carnival Splendor will operate 7-day cruises to the Mexican Riviera, as well as longer-length voyages to Alaska and Hawaii from Long Beach, increasing capacity on the routes by 41%. With the launch of Carnival Miracle's 4 to 14-day cruises from Port Tampa Bay, Carnival is doubling its capacity at the port and further bolstering its position as the Caribbean cruise leader. Carnival Miracle will offer only year-round, longer-length cruise program from Tampa. Since we live in Tampa and we film the show out of Tampa, we're going to be able to see the ship when it arrives. It's going to be exciting. So, Shally, we've never been on a show together before because Matt and you are always on the show together, and this is quite exciting for me. So tell me about your time in Key West.
This is fun. Getting to play around, have some fun while Matt's out of town. It's going to be fun, right?
Right, it is.
Yeah, I was thinking that because we're drinking. He said, no, it's a family show and all that. You know,
it's a cruise family show.
You know, he's watching right now. He's going like, that's Shally. I'm going to get her. Anyway. So, yeah, in the spirit of talking about Key West, I've been there twice. So I thought I would just kind of continue with what you guys were going with Key West and talking about my own personal experience that I had while I was there. I've been there twice. The first time I went there, I actually flew there. That was a really special trip. One of my good friends, Jerry, she lost her husband, and they had honeymooned in Key West. So his request was that his ashes be spread in Key West. And so my first trip there was for that. I think we only stayed like 2 nights, maybe. I can't remember. It might have been 3, but I think it was 2. And so I got to experience Key West, not just from a cruise ship, because when you go on the cruise, you're only there for the day. So I got to actually stay there a couple of nights, and we got to, have some fun with that. So, excuse me. So anyway, and then the second time I went there was on the 3rd annual CCPPF group cruise. That was Key West was part of the Key West and the Bahama itinerary that we went on. So with that, we got to go to Key West as well. Key West is beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful, and it's so much fun. I mean, it's just a fun place. Everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's having fun, drinking and eating and shopping, and you can walk around, going in and out of bars. I'm not sure on all of the, like the laws and everything, but what Michelle was saying earlier about how you have to ask for a to-go cup. I'm sure that we did. I really don't remember. But, I'm sure that is what we did, because vacation. I know I was walking. I was definitely walking on the sidewalks and in and out of bars with drinks in my hand. So I know that it happened. I'm sure I did it legally because I didn't go to jail while I was there. So, but,
well,
you
that could just
walk
mean
around.
You didn't get caught, Shally.
Yeah, we did. Whatever. Some of the places their to-go cup, I guess, is like, it's like a yard of margaritas, this big plastic thing with a giant straw in it, and it has a lid on it. I'm sure if it has a lid on it, it's considered a to-go cup. So, because I remember walking around with that, little koozie thing. So, but we had a lot of fun. And what you said earlier, it's like for Florida's Bourbon Street. And that's exactly what I have in my notes here, is that Key West is a lot like going to New Orleans. It's a lot like Bourbon Street, walking in and out of places and shopping and drinking and going in and out, just without the puke and the pee smell. that comes along with Bourbon Street.
No, that comes along with Bourbon
I mean,
Street
I'm trying
for
to be
sure,
real
yeah.
here, okay?
No, that's real.
Bourbon
That's
Street
real.
is, they don't keep it clean down there. I'm sorry. I love New Orleans. I love Louisiana, but
No,
I
I
mean,
agree.
come on, people. Key West is very clean. It's very, there's not, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are drunk people. I'm not saying there's not drunk people, but
Well, of course.
they wouldn't
Yeah, there
let
are
people
everywhere.
just stand around, but they wouldn't. I mean, in New Orleans, I've seen some things like this man needs to be either taken to the drunk tank or taken in an ambulance. I mean, he needs to go,
Yeah.
but they don't seem to watch it like that down there. But anyway, I'm getting off the subject. But so anyway, but basically when we went to Key West on the CCPPF third annual group cruise, what we did for our group was as our excursion for that day, because we always every date that we have a port, we either have a group excursion or some sort of group activity plan, so everybody can go together if they want to. And so basically what we did was a pub crawl, and we had a great time. There's so many bars and so many restaurants. I mean, just walking in and out of all of them, if you kind of have a plan and maybe some significance behind the bars that you're going to, because Key West is a very historical place. But anyway, so I got a copy of an official Key West pub crawl, and in the order and exactly how long it will take you if you follow the itinerary. So get your pens and pencils, ladies and gentlemen, and write this down. Get some paper. Of course, you could always watch the show later and just write it down then. But there you go. So anyway, this is an official Key West pub crawl that you can do, and you don't have to be a group to do it. I mean, we had, actually the third annual group cruise, it was in the summer. It was one of the smaller groups that we had. A lot of people don't want to cruise in the summer because it's expensive. And so we went in the summer, and I think there were about 20 of us that went on the pub crawl on that one. But I mean, even if it's just you and your cabin mate or your husband or your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever went with you on the cruise, you can still do a pub crawl. It doesn't have to be a group of people. But anyway, these are probably some, let's see, there were 6 stops on our pub crawl. So these are 6 bars that if you only had 6 bars to choose from, go to these bars and check them out for their historical value, for their excellent food, for their wonderful beverages and everything else. So this is the way our pub crawl worked. So our ship docked at like 9 or 9:30 or 8 or something like that. So everybody meets down at the atrium at 9:45 in the morning as a group. Everybody walks off the ship together so that you're always in your group. So from right when you get off the ship, there's a big shopping complex where you can go and get all your souvenirs and your touristy stuff. So for the pub crawl for 30 minutes from like 10:15 to 10:45, let everybody kind of shop and wander around the area there. Get yourself some chocolate dip key lime pie on a stick and all that good stuff. And then at 10:45, you meet back as a group at the Del Sol. Yeah, it's a business. You'll see the sign.
They're
just,
all over the Caribbean, as I understand, at Del Sol. Yeah, there's a color changing
we just
in
meet
the
there.
sun.
Yeah, it's like a little store or whatever. So anyway, you just try to, people that have done it before, they know little landmarks. So everybody meets as a group. So the bars on the pub crawl. So now it's 10:45 to 11 o'clock. It's about 0.1 miles. It's only a couple minutes from the ship. Rick's Tree Bar on Duval Street. World famous Bloody Marys, where they make their Bloody Mary mix homemade. Spend about 30 minutes at Rick's Tree Bar. Try some of the local whatever, and move on to the next one. So your next bar would be around 11:30 to 11:45, and that's about a minute from the Rick's Tree Bar. And that is the smallest bar I don't know if it's in the world or if it's just the smallest bar in Key West, but it's a little bitty tiny bar. But anyway, you go there, drinks are served in pineapples or coconuts, cash only, just to let you know. Right there next door to them is a Harley store. So if you might want to run in there for a minute if you don't want to get a drink right away. So there's a little Harley Davidson store next door. So from 12:15 to 12:30, you've got 15 minutes going at your third stop, which is Captain Tony's Saloon. That is the oldest bar in Florida. Not just Key West, but the oldest bar in the state of Florida. So again, more historical value, doing 30 minutes there as well. 1 to 1:30. It's about a 21-minute walk for this one. Now, remember a pub crawl, so I mean, you're going to do some walking because not all these, some of the bars are next door to each other. Some of them are a little bit further. So this one is about a mile. Okay. So you walk about, but you're walking up and down all these streets where all the bars, I mean, it doesn't seem like a mile. Your fourth stop, now this is your picture opportunity with the southernmost beach cafe and beach bar. Of course, they're famous for their rum runners cocktails, and right there's your opportunity to take a photo with the buoy. Everybody's got to get the photo with the buoy. They're at the
Of course.
southernmost point of the
That's
United
exactly
States.
what I'm saying. Like was the longest line that I saw anywhere in Key West when I was there was for the southernmost
And I was
point.
like, don't y'all serve drinks here? What is this? You need to turn it into a bar if we have to stand here so
If you're gonna
long.
have to stand there for as
But
long
you
as
have
that,
to-
yeah,
you have to do it
might
once.
as well.
You have to do it once. And I got to tell you, we were there in July. I thought I was going to die,
my God,
Joe.
yeah.
It was so hot. I'm just like, somebody
Yeah,
please
that's
give
not
me
the
a
time to be.
margarita.
As much as I love Florida, I love living in Florida. That's not the time to be here.
Well, if you can't have access to the
out of the
water,
way.
if you're going to be at the beach and you can get in the water and you can cool off, I totally get it, because that's how it is in Galveston. It's and in Texas. It's so hot outside to just walk around in the heat. You know, it gets, I thought we were going to die. But anyway, so there's your photo opportunity. Our fifth stop is going to be about 19 minutes from there. That's called the Lazy Gecko. Now they have daiquiris, mojitos, and they also have relatively inexpensive food, because you are going to find that, you know, you're paying top dollar for your food and drinks in Key West for sure. So anyway, they have food, have a meal, have a snack, relax, take a breather. You guys have been doing a lot of walking. And then of course your last stop on your way back to the ship, Sloppy Joe's. You have to go to Sloppy Joe's. It's kind of like the taking your picture with the buoy. You have to go there. So
Right.
Sloppy Joe's, but honestly, I'm telling you, know, sometimes on, you know, Saturday night when I don't feel like really cooking, I'll slap up some Sloppy Joe's for the family, you know, just the hamburger meat and the Sloppy Joe mix and all that. I mean, I like Sloppy Joe's. I think up north they call them loose meat sandwiches, but I'm telling you, their Sloppy Joe's are delicious.
Yeah.
And then they also have like a French fries that you can get, like French fries that has cheese and Sloppy Joe meat on top of them. My husband, he got that, and he got the Sloppy Joe, and he took a bite, just like his eyes glazed over. He's like, oh my God, this is so good. It really, I mean,
well, after all that
perfected
drinking, you
the
need to have
Sloppy
something
Joe.
to eat, because then you have to remember how to get back to the ship.
And Sloppy Joe's, well, I mean, you're right there. If you can't find the ship from Sloppy Joe's, then maybe you need to
Hey,
call
I know
it a
someone
day,
who I
or,
know
you know,
some people who
go
just
back
can't hold their
home.
booze. Okay. I know some people who just can't manage
You're
it.
steps away from the
ship
ship
could be
at
right
that
behind
point,
them, and they
please. You know
they
that
wouldn't be
big
able to find
giant
it.
white boat over there? Head towards that red, white, and blue thing over there. But anyway, so and also at Sloppy Joe's, when we went, we just happened to be there. They have an annual Ernest Hemingway lookalike contest every year, and they award somebody the new, I think they called him Papa, the new Papa. That was like Ernest Hemingway's nickname. So anyway, this cruise we went on, we just happened to be there. It's at the end of July usually, and that was the cruise that we went on. And we get there, and like the whole bar is nothing but dudes that look like Santa Claus with the white hair and the white beard, and somebody's going to win the lookalike contest. It was a lot of fun. It was packed. They had live music, and even though it was packed, I mean, the people in Key West that are the service industry, I mean, they are on top of it. They were packed. I don't know how we had a table of 15 people, and our waiter, oh, can I get some ketchup? I mean, it wasn't like I had to ask him 2 or 3 times. They're used to that kind of crowd for sure. Cause I mean, it's just every single day, you know, it's just more and more people. So, but anyway, so, Okay, so that was our last bar was Stop at Sloppy Joe's. The last couple of things I'm going to say about Key West are just my own experience when I went. Again, I had the opportunity to go and actually be in Key West for a little while instead of just being there for the days. So
And that's a
there are
different
some things you
experience
just
all on
can't
its
do
own,
while you're
for
on a
sure.
cruise because. Oh, totally. Because they're, like when you get on off the cruise, there's like, I'm going to talk about a restaurant that I love where they have brunch. Well, the cruise ship probably isn't going to be there on a Sunday afternoon. So unless you were there for a few days, would you actually get to do that? If you ever have the opportunity, like go to Key West for a couple of days. Well, no, wait, none of the cruises actually leave from Key West, do they? I guess you can maybe go to Key West for a couple of days and then head to Miami, if you had the time to spare. But anyway, so what I was going to get my suggestion to people, number one, Duval Street is basically your Bourbon Street. Okay. But don't be afraid. Go a few blocks off the beaten path. Turn down a street, maybe, off of Duval, just, keep a running tab on where you're at and don't get yourself lost. But I mean, Duval Street, all these streets cross it. Go down a few blocks. You'd be amazed at all of the cool little shops and little bars and little restaurants and just, there's chickens running around all over the place.
I noticed that when I was there.
And the cats and the chickens live together in perfect harmony. It's so funny. They're just sitting there together, hanging out. It's so hot. They can't move. So they're just like, hanging out. But anyway, so I wanted to tell you guys real quick about my favorite place in Key West. And Michelle did mention it. It's called Blue Heaven. And I know everybody's like, oh, Kermit's. You have to go get key lime pie at Kermit's, blah, blah. No. I mean, you can. I'm not telling you not to. But what I'm saying is, if you want a key lime pie that's going to change your life, you go to Blue Heaven and you get one. So I'm going to tell you exactly how to get there. So you're going down, you just got off the cruise ship, you're heading down Duval Street. Okay. So 4 or 5 blocks down, you're on Duval. So you take a right off of a street called Petronia. And then once you go down Petronia, where is it? Oh, then you take a left on Thomas Street, and that's Blue Heaven. It's about 4 or 5 blocks walk from Duval to Petronia to Thomas. But I mean, you know what? Who cares? You need to walk off all that cruise food you've been eating anyway. So anyway, go to Blue Heaven. It's this open air patio where you can eat. They have live music. They have their key lime pie. And earlier she said something about if you like key lime pie with meringue. And I'm going to tell you, I do not like meringue at all. It's like foamy weirdness.
That's exactly how I feel about it.
I know, but this is the one.
You're going to tell me to have that meringue, aren't you?
I'm a meringue hater. I hate meringue. Okay, I don't like it on lemon pies.
I'll be out there
I
with
want
the
whipped
protest
cream.
sign saying
I
down
want
with
whipped
meringue.
cream.
Like I'm one of those people.
There's this like crystallized sugar cloud. It's like a crystallized cloud of sugar on top of your key lime pie. I'm telling you, it's delicious. It's delicious.
That's a different way to say meringue.
If you're ever there and you're most meringue isn't, but that meringue is. It is a fluffy cloud of sugar. Yes, it's delicious. And then the other thing they have, if you're ever there and you're not on a cruise and you do have the opportunity, Blue Heaven has a brunch. They have lobster eggs Benedict. And oh my God, they're so good. They're so good. Anyway, you got to go to Blue Heaven. Take a walk on the wild side, man. Don't be afraid to go down a block or two. Don't be afraid to venture off from the Duval Street. Key West is a very safe place. Just remember where you're at. But if you walk a few doors down, you will be fine. No problems. So, but anyway, it looks like it has my thing frozen, Bird. It looks like on my end I'm frozen.
This would be a good time for me to just like stay in like very still pose, wouldn't it?
We look terrible.
Oh my
Am I back?
No, you're back. You're fine. You never left. You were here the whole time. I promise. You were always here. You never. You're
On
still
my
here. You
end,
never
I was
left.
all frozen. It was this terrible face I was making. I'm like, fix it, bird. My God.
I didn't
But
see it.
anyway, on my end, I was totally frozen with like a face like this, like.
I can't
You
fix
know,
your
so-
face. I'm not a plastic surgeon.
Oh my gosh, that's so mean.
So
Anthony,
I have two last things
Bird,
to
can
say
the
about
audience
Key
hear
West,
you?
and then I'm gonna shut up. What?
Bird, can the audience hear you? Oh well, okay.
They could a moment ago, yes.
He says they could a moment ago, so now he's like probably cut his mic,
He
so he makes
chimes
it look
in
like I'm
when he
crazy
thinks
again,
he's
talking to
being
voices in my
funny.
head.
He chimes in when he thinks he's being funny.
Yeah,
It's
tell me about it.
ridiculous.
You see, this is.
But that
Yeah,
when the
back
whole
on track,
music
Key
thing
West.
on the last show you were on, when he started doing that rumba music
that
or
was
whatever, that
bogus.
was hilarious. That was funny though. That
It
was
wasn't
funny.
funny.
That
No,
was.
it wasn't funny. Do not encourage
It
him.
was funny.
Shall we?
Because
It
your
was not
face,
funny.
you were just like, you're like, what's happening?
It's
What's
not
happening?
funny. It was cruel.
It was great. But anyway, the last couple things I want to say is that to me, Michelle mentioned that, you know, like they have the cool ocean breezes and whatever. But I'm telling you, in the middle of July, if the only thing you're going to do is walk around town and go in and out of bars and eat and stuff, it's molten lava hot. I'd like 147 degrees. It is really hot to just walk around. You know, it's so I probably would never go back in July is when we went. I would probably go in like April, May at the latest. June's probably pushing it. But it was hot and very humid in the middle of the summer. If you can avoid going in the summer, I would. If it's your family vacation and your kids need to go, I get it. You know, that's the only reason I was there in July. But anyway, also, and then the last thing I'll say is be prepared to spend a little bit of money. I mean, Key West is definitely a touristy place. They have a lot of really unique things, but they are also making a lot of money. Your cocktails are not cheap. Your food's not cheap. Don't go over, you know, don't leave the ship with $20 in cash and like that's going to last you all day. There's going to be something you're going to want to buy. There's going to be some little, I got to have this. I mean, they have beautiful art galleries and paintings and I mean, you know, sea art and I mean, just all kinds of stuff that you just feel like you have to have. So, and also take the time to like I said, walk down a block or two and look around you. Their flora and fauna on that island is so unique, beautiful, odd, strange looking flowers and trees, these big trees with the roots just coming up out of the ground and the ivy plants with leaves on them that are big as elephant ears. I mean, it's beautiful. They have so much pretty stuff to look at. And plus, like I said, they have free roaming chickens and cats and they live together like in perfect harmony. They're just hanging out, you know, just running around, having a good time. So anyway, so I hope this helped everybody with their any questions they might have had about Key West and anything they might want to do while they're there for the day.
Oh, I'm sure it certainly did. You know what? I think we can all agree. Key West. Those of us that have been there, Key West is an absolutely beautiful island. It's definitely a must see.
It is. It's
thing
great
to do.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
lot of fun.
Shally, thanks so much for that info. When I was in Key West, honestly, I thought it was beautiful, and I definitely have to go back and do what you did and stay overnight because that's definitely something that I haven't done yet.
Oh
and
yeah.
Of course, you know, I want to visit Tortugas National Park too. That's like a big thing on my list of travel things to do. So.
The thing is in Key West too, if you're going to stay, they have so many little bed and breakfasts, like these really beautiful old Victorian looking homes that are bed and breakfasts, you know, where you just 4 or 5 rooms available but there's tons of them, you know,
Yeah.
so I mean, you can go there and stay over, you know, just stay for a couple of nights just to see it because just to be able to stay there long enough because one day on a cruise ship walking down Duval Street and then having to get back to the ship and everything, you know, like having brunch at Blue Heaven, you know, you can't really do that because the ship wouldn't be docked there on a Sunday and you wouldn't be able to go and experience that. They got bottomless mimosas and, you know, so, I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff to do in
No, I
Key
agree.
West.
Cruise ships are good for a taste of Key West. Absolutely.
Right.
But,
cruise ships are good for a taste of a lot of things. It's a way to see several places in one trip, but at the same time, you only get a few hours. So, you know, you got to make the best of the time that you're there.
Michelle, thanks so much for talking with me on that. I appreciate you talking about Key West with me. So our cruise show and all the wonderful abilities that we have to bring in our guests remotely wouldn't be possible at the level that we do it without vMix. vMix is the live production software that powers our live show and many, many other high-end productions. From church services to football games, more and more live productions are running on vMix. And what our producer, Bird, really liked when he was trying to improve our show was that they give you a full 60-day trial of everything. That way you can test it out risk-free before you buy for a full 2 months. And then they have systems starting at just $350 up to $1,500 depending on your production requirements. If you're going to do any sort of serious live streaming, you need vMix. So try it free at vmix.com today. And now on to our history segment. This is going to be about a port that you may have sailed out of. Port Everglades is a man-made seaport composed of land within 3 municipalities: Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, and Dania Beach, and unincorporated Broward County, Florida. The port was originally dredged from Lake Mabel, a natural body of water that was a wide and shallow section of Florida's East Coast Canal system. In 1911, the Board of Trade passed a resolution that called for a deep water port. The port was originally intended to ship produce to the north and to the west. In 1913, Fort Lauderdale Harbor Company was formed and eventually dug out the Lake Mabel Cut, which opened the new river to the sea and created access for small boats. In 1924, the founder and mayor of the city of Hollywood, Florida, Joseph Wesley Young, bought 1,440 acres of land adjacent to the lake. He then created the Hollywood Harbor Development Company. And 3 years later, the Florida legislature established Broward County Port Authority. On February 22, 1928, 85% of Broward County's residents gathered for a ceremony in which President Calvin Coolidge was to push a button from the White House, detonating explosives to remove the rock barrier separating the harbor from the Atlantic Ocean. The button malfunctioned, however, but the barrier was removed shortly thereafter. Bay Mabel Harbor was dedicated on February 22, 1928. Many of South Florida's local women's clubs agreed that the port needed a new name to better represent the region. They held a name-changing contest, and the name Port Everglades was selected. More recently, in 2015, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers approved a new phase of expansion for Port Everglades that would involve deepening and widening canals. Federal legislation in 2016 is expected to authorize the expansion. The port currently serves ships from Europe and South America that are too large to fit through the Panama Canal, which is undergoing expansion, but the ships must be a certain load to fit properly in the port. The expansion will increase the main navigational channels from 42 feet to 48 feet, deepen and widen both the entrance channels and parts of the Intracoastal Waterway. It is expected that the project will be completed by 2022, creating approximately 4,700 construction jobs and 1,500 direct jobs locally, with an estimated cost of $374 million for the expansion. No local property taxes will be used for the project. So, as your resident cruise director, Chris has been on vacation, and it's his last week before he heads back to the ship. And he's going to answer a few questions that you have sent in, and a big announcement.
Well, hi everyone, this is Chris, the Flying Scotsman, here on the Carnival Dream, and welcome to another segment from Life of a Cruise Director. Keep tuning in every week to get these little segments, and of course, watch it all live on CruiseWeekTV. Keep watching. I have 1 week before I go back to work, 6 days actually. I'm recording this on the Sunday. To be honest, I didn't want to do much filming through the week because my last couple of weeks I want to really just spend time with Kimberly, and you know, we had a lot of friends and family up, but trying to get the camera out and get footage is just crazy. But we had such a cool week, but I'll talk about that in a second. But the most important thing is, of course, folks, the announcement has been made on Facebook if you haven't been following. Just to let you know, the reason that I will not be on the Carnival Dream from the 29th of April to the 23rd of July, so in that time period there, it was about 2.5 months. Is that 23rd? Yeah, it's about 2.5 months. Basically, I am going to the Carnival Horizon. So this for me is a massive thing. I've been working for the company now for nearly 6 years, as you probably know, and as well as that, I've only been a cruise director for about just under 2 years now. 2016 is when I became a cruise director, and I've loved every minute of it, and I continue to enjoy my job. for the Millers in Wichita Falls, Texas. I do have a question for you. What is your total number of video games you have now with the additions from the video game store? And how many game consoles do you have? Okay, let me just guess here. I have 19 game consoles. 19 game consoles, and I have 13, I think it, just now, 1,320, I think it's 24. Or 25, I'm not sure. Just over 1,300 games at the moment. It just keeps growing and growing. The wife doesn't like it, but... so yeah, big shout out to the Millers. And I've got 19 game consoles, from the old retro stuff to some of the new stuff. I'm actually looking to do an upgrade this week before I go back to the ship. I'm looking to trade in my PS4 Slim because I want a PS4 Pro. I want the Pro. I've heard it's great. The graphics are better, so that's what I'm going to do next. So there we go, guys. Quick shout outs to everyone that left messages on the YouTube channel. If you want to leave a message this week, just pop it in there. I will give you a shout out next vlog. All the best. Keep watching. I love you loads. And here's to the horizon. Ooh, and the future with Carnival Cruise Lines. Take care. Mwah!
And that brings another show to a close. Just to let you know, we have some great shows coming up. Next week, we'll talk to cruise director Lee Mason, who's down in Australia with the cruise line. So you can find out more about the differences between USA cruising and Australian cruising for someone who's worked on both sides of the world. And then the week after, we're taking a deep dive into Costa Rica with our guest. We have many other fun shows planned. And if you guys would like to offer a suggestion for a topic that you want covered, just email Zach at CruiseWeek.tv and we'll try to make our best to make it happen. And guys, if you know someone who's going to enjoy watching this show as much as you do, please be nice and share the link to their Facebook wall so that way they too can enjoy. Also, if you haven't done it yet, please like and subscribe to our Facebook and our YouTube channel, because just doing that alone really helps show our sponsors the support that we have, and it helps keep the show alive and running each week. Plus, you get entered into some great cruise drawings to win some cruise swag. And I'm actually going to be back next week again, if you guys haven't been sick of me enough already, to cover cruises that other than Carnival. So don't forget that you can see all of our past live shows, that's how I should phrase it, as well as ship interviews and much more on our website, CruiseWeek.tv. Also, you can catch producer Bird and Matt on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, for their midweek social on Facebook. Until then, I'm Joe, and I will see you guys next week. See you on